Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. I've told you 1,000 times that this place is a disaster, but I think that where we're at right now is a little bit overwhelming, honestly. There's like, I'm pretty sure that all of my tools are somewhere scattered. It's been a mess. I've done a bunch of cutting down here, so if I cough, I'm sorry. There's sawdust. I tried to run my box fan as much as possible to get the sawdust out of the air, but the renovation has been going great. And I told you I was going to tell you about a tool that I purchased, and I wanted a little bit of time with it before I told you about it. I like to at least use something before I talk about it. So here we are. This is the Hyper Tough 2.1 amp oscillating multi-tool. I have wanted one of these tools for a long time. An oscillating multi-tool essentially is a arbor that vibrates very quickly, very shallow vibrations. Like this blade maybe moves, I don't know, less than 1/4 of an inch, like more like 1/8 of an inch, and it works essentially like a pair of hair clippers. You know, vibrate very quickly back and forth. And with that, you can put a saw blade on here that's on here right now. You can put sanding attachments, scraper attachments. Regardless, I've wanted one of these tools for a long time. They're really good because you can do plunge cuts with them, meaning that you can take this blade and just stab it straight into something and cut right into it. And it's really handy when you're getting into a spot that you can't normally get a saw into because you don't have a full stroke, or you have to start in the middle of a wall or something like that. Yeah, so I knew that this project was going to require one of these. I showed you this picture before where there's a door transition between my two different flooring types, and I'm going to have to rip the tiger bamboo that's on the left at some point to widen that gap so that I can put a bigger fill board in there. And I could do a large portion of that with a circular saw, but the circular saw can't make it clear to the ends. So how do you cut the boards that are on the very ends? Chisel, maybe? That's engineered hardwood, so it's not hardwood. I couldn't actually chisel at it. The answer is this tool. So once I get to the ends of the circular saw, I can just zip that right off. Knew I was going to need one. I've been looking at them for quite a while, like years actually. But I've been looking recently because I knew that this was going to come in handy doing this project. And the cheapest one on Amazon was like 30 bucks. And I was like, I almost bought it once. Well, the other day I happened to be at Walmart and I was talking to my mom and I asked her if she had one of these because my dad usually has most tools. They did not have one. And I said, well, let me see what Walmart has. And I walked back, and this is the Walmart brand. Hyper Tough tools are like Walmart's brand, I guess. I don't know that they're sold anywhere else. It actually says Walmart Inc. on it. So I'm assuming this is their brand, their store brand. It was $17, like reduced price, rollback pricing, $17. So for 17 and change, it was less than $18. I immediately was like, I'm buying it. Like, that's perfect. Wonderful. And I could not be happier. It seems to be fairly robust. This is some sort of ABS plastic. It's got a cast head. It feels heavy. It feels very nice in the hand. The switch is extremely tactile. It feels like it hasn't slipped yet. I haven't noticed it going in and out. This little dial back here kind of sucks. It feels janky, but it works. But it is very easy to hit. Like if you're using the tool and you sweep your hand back, if you're not on one of the detents, it'll slow down, speed up. I have done that quite a bit using it. In the box, you get the tool. You get the sanding attachment and a couple little 120 sanding pads. You take these triangular pads. These are great for getting into corners and stuff. I haven't used this option yet. You get a scraper blade. This is essentially just I don't even think it's sharp. It might be sharp. I don't think it's made for cutting. It's more of a scraper. Oh, that is pretty sharp actually. So for scraping paint or whatever you want to scrape. And the only thing I can tell you is this saw blade really is terrible. I knew that. I bought their Hyper Tough kind of accessory blade. I think this blade will be a much better quality than this, but this has actually made it through quite a bit of hell. I have used it to cut a lot of trim around the doors where I can't get a traditional saw in to cut off door trim so I can get the floor under it. But yesterday, I really put it through its paces. I'll show you a couple pictures, and yeah, this is not the correct way to repair this. I'll tell you what's going on here. First of all, in this first picture, you can see I took out a big portion of the floor, and the saw was key in getting that cut out. There was some rot in that floor. This house is 6 years old, but that door is on the weather side of the house, and when I bought it, there was no storm door. So the door, the weather was blowing underneath of that. It's one of those sill-less, I don't know what they call it, the sill plate that's flat, so the wind was just blowing water underneath that door, and I had no idea. One day I stepped on it and my foot went through the floor, and it was like that for a long time, just waiting on the day when I could replace it. That was yesterday, and I ended up tearing all the rot out. I used this multi-tool to cut along the studs and work my way across. The biggest issue that I have is the stud that runs down the center, the floor joist, whatever you want to call it, that runs down the center of that door is like a ½ inch higher than its neighboring floor joist. It's really bad. There's a big crown in that hallway. There's a crown in that sill plate that causes the door not to seal properly. It really needs fixed. It needs torn completely apart and fixed, but I just don't have the budget for that right now, and it's winter time. So for right now, that's not going to happen. So my solution was to cut that small section out, replace it with a piece of waterproof OSB, which I happen to have from one of the other houses in the development that got built. And this little tool did most of that work. This little tool cut all of that OSB out and really worked wonderfully. Like, I was super happy I had this because otherwise I think I would have said a few curse words trying to work on that. But I got it all cut out, got it patched. It's not perfect. It won't be perfect until I can actually fix that hallway someday. But for right now, you know, the laminate floor that's going down that hallway, I shimmed both sides of the hallway as much as I could to kind of reduce the peak before putting the flooring down, and it seems to be fine. Once I put the trim down, it'll kind of lock the sides down, and it'll be okay. It'll flex some. But really, the truth is, this tool, if you go to Walmart and it's still on sale for $18, I would highly recommend, if you're a tool person, get it. You'll use it. You'll find reasons to use it. Or you'll be able to do jobs that you didn't know that you could do because you can get this little cutter head into all kinds of areas to cut things. Yeah, that's what I got to say about that. So thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being my bestest friends, being amazing people. I really appreciate you, and I hope you'll come back tomorrow. I'll see you then.
Hey, Doc, wait! I want to ask you something.
Taste Random Fact comes from Wikipedia. When was music first recorded? Though no trace of a working paleophone was ever found, Croce is remembered as the earliest inventor of a sound recording and reproduction machine. The first practical sound recording and reproduction device was the mechanical phonograph cylinder invented by Thomas Edison in 1877 and patented in 1878.